breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Hey, warm and friendly hello! Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. We've got a great podcast for you as we're going to be joined in segment number 2 by a good friend of ours, Tanner Kern. He does amazing work over at DraftKings. He's based out there in the city of Boston, so we have to chat with him about this very, very murky American League that we've got right now. If there are any teams that are standing out to him that he feels like have a little bit of upside, let's take a look at that, and then we'll dive into the great slate of games that we've got on this Friday. In the final segment, going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Friday as we touch them all. If you do have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, do have one or two ways we'll fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, RCM, name does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. The other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Well, I did not get in any Twitter/X questions today. It was a small slate of baseball on Thursday, but it was a fun one. Let's take a look back at it, try to find some trends, and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
It was also an overwhelming slate of baseball as well. We only had 2 unders on the card, and one of those was the Walker Texas Rangers getting the job done against the Royals. 4-2 the final. Rangers back to 500 as they get not necessarily a lot of length out of Coomer Rocker, but he did his part. 4 2/3 innings, gives up 2 runs. From there, the bullpen goes to work. Jacob Latz, 2 shutout innings. Cole Winn, a shutout innings, and then you had Robbie Alstrom come in for 4 outs out of the bullpen. Squirrels for the Royals. Michael Wacha, more like the dying Pac-Man voice of Michael Waka 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 Waka. 4 runs allowed over the course of 7 innings, including a bomb to Corey Seager. 9th home run campaign from there. Beck Way, that's an interesting name. 2 shutout innings, so he found the way to shutout innings, but nothing doing for the Royals. They are now 28-41. That's been rough. And then your other under, the Miami Marlins completely shutting out the Arizona Diamondbacks, 2-0 the final. Merrill Kelly was not bad in this game. He gives up 2 runs over the course of 6 innings, doesn't give up any homers. From there, Brandon Garcia, Paul Sewald, they both led a scoreless inning, but Tyler Phillips giving the Miami Marlins something big, 5 shutout innings, and then Michael Peterson, great name, Calvin Fauché, Anthony Bender, Pete Fairbanks. They all lend a scoreless inning, so the Marlins, 1 game away from 500, and the Diamondbacks, they're right back to 500. The Mets, they win a game. They take down the St. Louis Cardinals, 5-4 the final. Obviously, it's been rough here for the Mets, and Christian Scott, great Scott, this guy gave up a trio of bombs all in the first 2 innings, as it was home run number 1 of the season for the backup catcher in Jimmy Crooks, so congratulations to him. You had Eric Burleson, gets 11th home run season, Lars Nootbaar is second, and then things buckle down from there. AJ Minter, 4 outs out of the bullpen. Squirrels, Brooks Raley, Luke Weaver, Devin Williams, they all supply a scoreless inning, and for the Cardinals, they got all 4 of their runs in the first 2 innings. The Mets, they put up 3 runs in the first inning themselves, as Hunter Dobbins gives up a pair of bombs, as you had Bo Bichette get his 6th home run in the campaign. Jacob Young is 4th. He would settle down from there, gives up 3 runs over the course of 4 and 3rd innings. Justin Brule gets it out of the bullpen. He gives up a run. George Soriano, 4 outs out of the bullpen, scoreless, and then Jojo Romero does give up a home run to Juan Soto, 14th home run season. That is the difference maker, as Gordon Gaseffo, pair of outs out of the bullpen, scoreless, but Mets find a way to persevere there. And then we had the overwhelming games. The Chicago Cubs, they take down the Colorado Rockies, this by a count of 9-3, as the Cubs back above 500. Edward Cabrera gives up 2 runs over the course of 5 1/3 innings. Both were solo home runs, as he was taken deep by Brett Sullivan, his 2nd home run of the campaign, and about home run number 1 of the season, and I believe of the career of the young gun prospect and Kyle Carrig, so a congratulations to him. From there, for the Cubs, you were able to get it out of the bullpen out of Hobie Milner, Phil Matone, Ryan Rolson. They both give you a shutout inning, and then 1 1/3 innings from Tyler Ferguson. He does give up a solo home run to Mr. Sullivan, so Sullivan, he gets his 3rd home run of the campaign, and Ryan Feldner, he got pelted. 6 runs allowed in 4 1/3 innings. He was taken deep in this one by Seiya Suzuki. Oh, I see you for your 10th home run of the campaign, and then Blas Castano gives one up to Alex Bregman. 6th home run of the campaign. Castano, 2 2/3 innings. He gives up 2 runs, both of which were earned. Sammy Peralta gives up a run in 2 innings that run a solo home run to Carson Kelly. 3rd home run of the season. For the Detroit Tigers, they completely lambaste the Minnesota Twins here. 11-0 the final for the Tigers. Nice start out of Cadito Montero, 6 1/3 inning scoreless. Tyler Horton, 5 outs of the bullpen scoreless. Bo Brisky, a shutout inning, and Zebby Matthews. This was not the start that he was looking for. He gives up 7 runs, all of which were earned over the course of 6 innings. Gleyber Torres takes him deep. That was home run number 4 of the campaign for him. You also had a home run for Spencer Torkelson, 10th home run season. Then Colt Keith, his 1st home run of the season From there, you had Zach McKinstry be able to go yard, his second home run in the campaign, as they tried to kick the tires here on Alex Jackson, and that was not what they were hoping for. That's a position player who gave up 3 runs, all of which were earned over the course of an inning, and he gave up a pair of bombs, as he also gave one up to one Mr. Wencio Perez, 7th home run season, then Riley Green, 8th home run season. That comes off Cody Lawyerson. Lawyerson gives up that home run in his inning of work, and for the Tigers, now 29-40. It's been a rough season for them, but yay verily to that win, and we're able to say yay verily to this one, as the Dodgers take it to the Pittsburgh Pirates, this by a count of 8-6, as for Justin Robelski, not long for this game, 4 runs allowed and 4 2/3 innings. Brandon Lau gets loud, his 16th home run of the campaign, and then the backup catcher, home run number 1 of the season for Rafael Flores Jr., congratulations to him. And on the flip side for the Dodgers, you had Shohei Ohtani go yard, 13th home run of the campaign. That comes off of Mitch Keller, and even worse, there 5 runs allowed over the course of 4 innings. From there, you did have you don't mess with the Yohan Ramirez, not get messed with, 2 shutout innings, but Evan Sisk gives up 2 runs in 2/3 of an inning. Brandon Bedoy, an unearned run, give it up in 1 1/3 innings, and then Dennis Santana, scoreless inning. From there, Will Klein on the flip side for the Dodgers, he and Jack Dreher both had a scoreless inning. Alex Vesia, and out of the bullpen scoreless, Edgar Enriquez, he does give up a pair of runs in 2/3 of an inning, but Tanner Great Scott, 4 outside the bullpen scoreless to be able to get the job done there, and then the Orioles get the job done 7-5 over the Seattle Mariners. As for the Mariners, Brian Wu was more like Brian Boo. Gave up all 7 runs over the course of 5 innings, taken deep by Pete Alonso, 15th home run season. Colton Cowser is 7th, and for Kyle Bradish, he gave up 5 runs of his own over the course of 4 innings, including a trio bombs. Luke Raley goes off the Rayleigh's 14th home run of the season. You had Colton Young be able to get his 5th home run of the season. Dom Canzone, his 9th, but bullpen from there did their part. Tyler Wells pitches Wells, 3 shutout innings. Uncle Rico Garcia, Grant Wolfram combined for a shutout inning. Then Andrew Kittredge, first save of the season, 6-pitch, scoreless 9th inning. And if you're taking a look at what we're all getting trend-wise in baseball right now, has been an overwhelming season. The over rate up to 51.4% this season, 511 overs, 483 unders, and we're now up to 31 pushes as well. Favorites on the money line ending at 55.4%, 550 and 443, and among those favorites, 131 have failed to cover the run line over the last 7 days. Favorites hitting at about 56.5%, 48 and 37, but among those favorites, 13 failed to cover the run line. And over the last 7 days, 45 overs, 39 unders, and if math serves me correct, we've had ourselves 6 pushes along the way, so 53.6% is the rate for overs over the last 7 days. That's what we're seeing in baseball right now, and that's what we're getting trend-wise. Coming up next, how about if we do chat it up with one of our good friends in Tanner Kern, and we take a look at the slate that we've got for Friday, the Murky American League, and so much more right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the Beats Family Podcast.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by this man, as we've got Tanner Kern aboard. He's doing such amazing work over at DraftKings, taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. He's doing an amazing job in the fight game, which at UFC 250 at the White House, that is going to be absolutely insane in a few days. I know that he's doing a great job looking at the NBA Finals, hockey, and so much more. You're able to follow him on the old Twitter/X at his first and last name, Tanner Kern. That last name is spelled Kern, then an underscore after that. And Tanner, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Greg. Always a pleasure.
Always appreciate you, Tanner. And Tanner, you are out there in the lovely city of Boston. So first things first, we'll lead off with this. Just what do we make out of this very murky American League right now? Because it feels like nobody wants to separate right now. The Yankees looked like they were the top team for quite a while. Now they're without Aaron Judge, and it just feels like we've got a very strange landscape, to say the least, right now.
Yeah, the Yankees offense is very limited because we talk about Judge, but we also look at Giancarlo Stanton. Not that he's played a ton of games this season, but being without him and Judge and Austin Wells at a point, like that's really hard for a team to overcome. I think between those three, you have 25% of their runs scored this season are pretty close to that. I still believe the New York Yankees are the best team in the American League by far. You look at the run differential, it's pretty impressive right now with the plus 103. The Tampa Bay Rays do have a positive run differential at plus 12, but still, I think the Yankees will ultimately overtake that division. You look at the Central Division, the West Division, I think the Mariners are going to get better in the West. And in the Central, I don't believe in any of those teams this year. It seems like it's the Yankees' league to lose, in my opinion, but they have to get healthy and they have to stay alive while they're getting healthy.
Yep, certainly, and it's going to be interesting to take a look at them moving forward because they do not have a easy task on Friday. They have to go up against Trey Savage and the Blue Jays, a team that I feel like is starting to round into form. Right now, this is a relative pick 'em and a total of 8. Want to get your thoughts here because I do think that for the Yankees, they're a little bit more equipped to overcome this Aaron Judge injury than they have been in the past with the way that Ben Rice has performed. I like Cody Bellinger as well. That said, being able to get right around about minus 110 on the Blue Jays is really calling my name here.
Yeah, I'd be leaning towards the Blue Jays here with Trey Savage on the mound. 2-3, but a 3.16 ERA and a 1.17 WHIP. And if I had to buy stock into any team, it would be the defending American League champions in the Toronto Blue Jays. I think ultimately, if you're afraid of one team moving forward in the league, it probably is Toronto. Not saying Ryan Weathers has been bad, been pretty consistent. The walks and home runs have been slight issue for him. But this is a spot where I do favor the Blue Jays. And like you said, the Yankees still have a lot of guys who can play, but that team is so centered around Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton, like Cody Bellinger and Jazz Chisholm and even Ben Rice. I know Ben Rice has been fantastic, but those are complementary pieces to what you have in those two other guys. So it's still hard for them. I think they'll survive, but it's still going to be really hard.
Yep, I'm right there with you, and I do believe in the Blue Jays quite a bit as well, and this is a team I think could rise in the American League as well. The old Walker Texas Rangers, because they've got some great pitching, they're taking on your guys, the Boston Red Sox. Right now, the total is 8.5. Red Sox between minus 125 to minus 135 favorites. Want to get your thoughts here because for the Rangers, so many question marks with regards to the offense. Really feel good about the pitching. And for the Red Sox, I don't know if you could explain it. This team just simply can't hit at home, and the offense has actually been halfway decent away from home.
It has been. It has not been bad on the road. I was surprised to see they ran the lower third the other day, and it said the Red Sox, at the time before they got swept by the Rays, I think they had the third best record in the American League on the road. So they've been a decent road team. If you just look at their road stats, you would say that they are one of the teams competing for a playoff spot. Obviously, that's not the case when you look at them at home. I believe they've only won one series at home this season. The Red Sox can't hit. The Rangers are not that much better. I mean, they have a lower batting average. They have hit 15 more home runs this season, so the slug's a little higher. But I don't know what to say about the Red Sox at home. Really can't explain it. They just don't have that good of a lineup. They find a way to hit on the road, but overall, when you look at the lineup, I mean, Mickey Gasper, I'm not going to call him a big leaguer. Wilson Contreras has been good. Marcelo Myers, you're getting out of him. Caleb Durbin's starting to come along, but I'm still not a big believer in him. Jarren Duran can be good at times. Cedon's good at times. Willier's good at times, but you just don't have any pop. You have a lot of you have a chunk of complementary pieces, I think, and then you have no pop. So it's really hard to figure out why they haven't hit at home, but when you just look at the lineup, it's not that good. So I'm always a believer in betting against the Boston Red Sox at this point. I mean, the Red Sox have been a favorite in the majority of the games that they have played this season, which is very crazy to me. And when you're getting them for a favorite here, I still lean towards the Rangers with Jack Leiter on the mound, even though Sonny Gray has been solid.
Yep, and would you perhaps look at the under as well of 8.5 because you just laid it out, the fact that the Red Sox have not really been able to hit all season long, and Sonny Gray has been a more than presentable pitcher, and for the Rangers, they themselves have some offensive issues.
Yeah, I would, but I do worry about Jack Leiter. I mean, he's coming off just getting blown up by the Cleveland Guardians, and you look at 3 of the past 4 starts really have not been that good. I'll take one away against the Colorado Rockies, but I do have my fear. That's the tough thing about the Red Sox. I know they haven't hit at home statistically, but when you just look at the entire situation as a whole, they could hit. They could easily hit one night. You just don't know. So I try to stay away from totals with Boston. The one thing that I do take is whenever I can get a fair price on the run line against them, I take it. Whenever I can get a good price, a good plus money price on a team with pretty even pitching, I tend to do that as well.
Yep, I think that is very well said by you as Tanner Kern, who does such great work over at DraftKings, joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And then this is one that I think is befuddling. We've got a relative pick'em price here between the Mets and the Atlanta Braves, and I love Nolan McLean as a starter for the Mets, but it's just been a rough season for them. With the Atlanta Braves, they are going to have a little bit of inclement travel because they had a rain delay on Thursday in their game against the Chicago White Sox, and Spencer Strider has given up the deep ball a little bit, but want to get your thoughts here because it feels like the Braves are still being slept upon a little bit, and for the Mets, I just can't trust them in a pick'em game against such a good lineup and such a good bullpen like the Braves have.
Nolan McLean's been okay. He's been better than Spencer Strider, but Strider wins when they're on the mound. He's still 4-1, even though he has the 4 ERA and the 1.28 WHIP. He's doing over a strikeout per inning. That's powerful against a Mets team that really simply can't hit the ball right now. We talk about how about the Boston Red Sox have been. The Mets, offense power-wise has been better, but just as a whole, they have not been very good. They're hitting 227 as a team. The Braves are hitting 30 points higher than them on their team batting average. The power-wise, they've hit 92 home runs compared to the Mets at 68. The run differential is substantial. And anytime you get the Braves for minus 115, and them and the Dodgers, you got to take it.
Yep, right there with you. I'm in agreement on that front. And then we've got ourselves games out where I am, a lovely Las Vegas. It's the Athletics against the Rockies, and looks like the Rockies are going to go with the old poo-poo platter of pitchers sort of approach. We don't know who the starter is going to be for them, most likely wholesale. And then Gage Jump has actually been really good for the Athletics here in his first few starts. Total is a whopping 13.5. Need to get your thoughts here because that first game was so explosive out here in Las Vegas. Both teams got to 2 touchdowns. That said, last 2 games went under, and for the Rockies, they really don't hit away from home. I like what I'm seeing out of Gage Jump. 13.5 just feels like a little bit of a, shall we say, overreaction of what we saw in that first game.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, anytime you're playing in a minor league ballpark, it's hard, right? So I would say, yeah, definitely leaning under on this, but, still being concerned, maybe going for a first half under just so you don't have to worry about the bullpens or anything coming into the game. But Gage Jump's been really good, 2-1, 2.45 ERA, whip right around 1. He only has 18 innings on the mound, but has just been consistent. I worry he's a little more of a contact pitcher, and, contact guys tend to get hit a little bit. But yeah, the Rockies don't hit on the road that much. They're 12-23 for a reason there, and neither offense is overly impressive. The Athletics, the 87 home runs this season, 326 OBP. I can't say they're an 87 home run team if they're not playing at minor league ballparks all the time either. So I'd be leaning under on 13.5. I think that's a very fair price.
Yep, I'm right there with you, and I also do like the Athletics on the run line too. Gage Jump, just a great name, by the way, so that's going to be a fun one to be taking a look at. And Tanner, we've got ourselves a very fun one out there in Milwaukee. My guys, the Brewers, have Jacob Misiorowski on the bump. It's a total between 7.5 to 8, and for the Brewers, minus 235 to minus 260. And I think you're much like myself. You're probably not thinking, yeah, this is a number that I'm willing to lay or anything like that. But is there anything that you can find with regards to the Brewers here, whether that be taking a look at an under or just banking on Misiorowski to continue to blow guys away?
I mean, it's baseball. For me, I'd probably be looking strikeout props for Misiorowski. I don't have anything pulled up in front of me, maybe going for a first 5 run line, or I hate doing full game run lines just because you're not guaranteed those 9 at-bats when you're at home. But I'd be willing to take a chance on the Philadelphia Phillies. I know Andrew Painter's been really bad, got the 6.21 ERA and the 1.57 whip, but the Brewers don't crush the ball. They've only hit 57 home runs. Great OBP. They're great at putting the ball in play. But the Phillies can win with power. And I saw the Boston Red Sox beat Misiorowski. He's fantastic. I saw them win a game he pitched in. So anything can happen. That's why for a 2-1 money line price with a team like the Philadelphia Phillies, who have been surging as of late, and going against a Brewers team that's been awesome but doesn't hit for power, I wouldn't mind taking a chance on the Phillies for 2-1. I don't know if they're going to win the game, but just odds alone, I can't be doing minus 230 or whatever the Brewers are priced at.
Yep, I'm right there with you, and it's very, very chalky there with the Brewers. You can get a fair run line price of more around even money, minus 105. Would much rather look at that. For me, it's either run line of the Brewers or you take the big giant plus number on the Phillies. I'm just not in the business of playing minus 235. That's just way too much in my opinion, and we do have ourselves a fun slate on this Friday. We've got all 30 teams in action. Unfortunately, no day games. That makes me sad, but anything else that you're taking a look at on this Friday, Tanner?
I mean, a lot of good games on the board. I'm obviously just excited to watch the Red Sox. Hopefully they can get one together. I mean, we talked about all the major games. Something I'm, want to look at is just continuing to watch the Rays. They're going to the Angels in this game, and right now the Rays are a pretty heavy favorite there. I think the Angels are one of the worst teams in the American League, obviously, but the Rays have won by putting the ball in play and just playing contact. Can the Angels pull off an upset? They kept games close with the Dodgers, so one to look at. And then also I'm just obviously interested in that American League East race, so been paying plenty of attention to the Rays in general.
And with the LA Angels, man, the fact that they've got Taijuan Walker on the roster right now, that's just not great to say the least. Fading the Angels has been a gift that keeps on giving, and a gift on this podcast is whenever you come aboard, Tanner, because you do such a great job looking at this game of baseball. I know you do a great job on the fight scene. When football's in season, you're doing a great job there. You're doing a little bit of everything over there at DraftKings and the Ride the Line podcast, so let the good people at home know what's on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Yeah, we got new episodes of Ride the Line every Tuesday and Friday. We're talking a lot of things, but primarily NBA playoffs right now. And then also you can catch me on my personal socials at Tanner Kern across the board, and then on the DraftKings Sportsbook social pages pretty much every single day.
And Tanner, he's doing such a great job staying dialed in on this great sport of baseball, and every single time he joins me on such great insights. So big thanks to Tanner for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the Beast and Family Podcast. Coming next, it is that time of the podcast to give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Friday as we touch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the Beast and Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by Tanner Kern, who does such great work over at DraftKings, taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball, doing a tremendous job looking on so many different fronts, whether that be the fight game, whether that be football, and so much more. Every single time he joins me, lends such great insights, and he did so once again today. So a big thanks to Tanner for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Friday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at @Junit_81. We are going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first, in time order, then the American League games, in time order, any interleague games. Those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. Let's get things started. This is 901, 902 on the card. The Pirates are going to be playing us to the Miami Marlins. Sandy Alcantara goes for the fish. Braxton Ashcraft hopes to not be a load of Ashcraft for Pittsburgh. The Pirates are between -140 to -154 favorites, +119 to +130. That's your number on Pittsburgh with a total between 8 to 8.5. On the 8, the over is -120, the under is even on the 8.5. Under is -115, over is -105, and did set a total of an 8.1. Personally, would rather have the 8.5 under rather than the 8 to the over. Recognize that for the Pirates, they've been leading the league in terms of run scoring at home between 5.6 to 5.7 runs per game, but I do think that Sandy Alcantara is going to be able to round into a little bit of better form. For Alcantara, he does a nice job in terms of not hurting himself, but he's just been pitching to a lot of contact this year. Needs to dial it up with the swing and miss stuff. 1 home run, 2.2 walks allowed per 9 innings, but only 6.2 strikeouts per 9 innings. 4.33 ERA, goes through to a 4.07 fielding independent, and he's been a little bit better recently, giving up 4 runs across 14 innings in his last 2 starts, 12 strikeouts in those 2 starts. So, like what I'm seeing there in Braxton Ashcraft has just been great here for the Pirates. A 3.28 ERA, 3.12 fielding independent. He's given up just 0.9 home runs, 1.9 walks allowed per 9 innings. Faces a Miami Marlins team that is in the bottom 6 in terms of home runs hit on a per at-bat basis. And then when it comes to Mr. Ashcraft as well, when he's been at home, he's been allowing closer to about 0.8 home runs per 9 innings. And for Miami, you do have Liam Hicks, who's been able to give you a double-figure amount of homers. He's moving the line, give you about a 350 on base. Then you have a few ancillary guys like an Otto Lopez, along with Xavier Edwards, who've been able to hit above a 300. But to have a bottom of the lineup that has just not been great, to say the least, the likes of Jacob Marcy, Alberto Hernandez, Owen Casey, Esteri Ruiz, can't even throw in their Kyle Stowers, who hits more towards the middle of the lineup, allowing a 230 or lower without a lot of power. For the Marlins, this has been a solid bullpen. They're a top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA. You've been able to get some good innings out of Lake Bakar, who's been serving as a very nice long guy, sub 350 ERA out of him. Michael Peterson, Anthony Bender, these are guys that have been able to give you a sub 355 ERA as well. Have had shakiness all season long with Pete Fairbanks, but it's looked better recently. John King, about a 230 ERA. Flip side for the Pirates, it's been a little bit shaky with the bullpen, but I do think that they're going around into form a little bit more. Evan Sisk, Gregory Soto have been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. Carmen Bolzinski going from the rotation down into the bullpen should be able to lend some nice help for some of these guys like Dennis Santana, Yohan Ramirez, who've been struggling a little bit. So do think that the Pirates find a way to get the job done, even with their lineup being a little bit hampered. O'Neal Cruz has been dealing with an injury, but Brandon Lau, he's getting loud. He's been able to give you 15 home runs, hitting about a 250, and then just plenty of guys in general moving the line. Spencer Horwitz, Brian Reynolds, both above a 375 on base. Jake Magnum about a 350 on base, along with Ryan O'Hearn and Nick Gonzalez, and Gonzalez hitting for a 300 with that average. So I do like the Pirates here on the money line, set them at a -153. I like the under, so I tell it at 8.1 and an 8.5 or higher. 903, 904 on the card. The Diamondbacks are going to be on the road against the Cincinnati Reds. Yes, we're on to Cincinnati. Who's on to Nick Lodolo getting the start, and Eduardo Rodriguez goes for the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks find themselves as a very slim favorite here, anywhere between -110 to a -116. Meanwhile, -102 to -110 is that number on Cincinnati. 9.5 is the total, under is -120, and the over is even, and with the Reds. Set them at a minus 106. Right now I'm seeing that minus 102. I'm willing to take a shot there on the money line. I know it's been a no good, very bad, terrible season for Nick Lodolo thus far. Coming off the injury list has been less than tremendous. He's given up, though, a combined now 8 runs in his last 3 starts, 3 earned runs or fewer in 3 of his last 4 starts. Does seem like he's starting around into form. That 650 fielding, depending with 2.2 home runs per 9 innings. That's been all sorts of awful to say the least. But I do think that for Lodolo, coming off the injury list and him not necessarily having a lot of time to be able to just get into form, that hurt him quite a bit, and now it feels like he is starting to do a little bit of a better job and be that guy that we all know and love from last season when he was only giving up about like 1.8 to 1.9 walks per 9 innings and a closer to 3.33 ERA. And then for Eduardo Rodriguez, just feels like he's been one of the luckiest pitchers in all of baseball thus far this season. For Rodriguez, right now posting up a 2.52 ERA, but closer to a 3.84 fielding dependent, not getting a lot of swing and miss, 6.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. Now he's kept the ball in the yard, 0.8 home runs, 3.1 walks per 9 innings, and for the Reds, it's been a little bit of an up and down lineup this season, and Eugenio Suarez has not been himself. He's out with a lot of injury, and when he's been out there, he's been hitting well less than a 250 thus far this season. But cousin Sal Stewart, he's been able to give you 13 home runs this season. The injury to Ellie De La Cruz, no doubt that has been hurting this team quite a bit, but you've had a few guys like a JJ Bleday be able to step up. He's been able to give you a double-figure amount of homers. On-base percentage is hovering right around about a 350 for him. Spencer Steer, 10 home runs, hitting about a 255. Now, bottom of the lineup, you got some guys like Will Benson. Whenever they trotted him out there, it's been a small sample size. Novalli Marte, TJ Friedel, Tyler Stevenson. A lot of guys hitting at 220 or lower. Matt McClain as well. And for the Reds, they were actually number 1 in terms of bullpen ERA in the first month of the season, and it has toilet bowled from there. You've got a lot of guys who are currently dealing with an injury, like the closer Emilio Pagan, which I didn't think was big at the time, but when everyone else is performing, looking at you, the likes of Jose Franco, along with Connor Phillips, throwing their Graham Ashcraft, who I know that he's been dealing with injury. Pretty much all these guys, aside from Ashcraft, posting up an ERA that's well above a 5. Tony Santillan, about a 6 ERA. But you do have Rock and Roll Burke Sembol, who will be able to give you a sub 325 ERA. Flip side for the Arizona Diamondbacks, they become more of a league average team with their bullpen, and I've had quite a few guys step up. I'm still not necessarily a Paul Sewald stan. He has blown some games as far this season, but that said, you've got the likes of Kevin Ginkgo, Brandon Garcia, Jonathan Weisga, Juan Murillo, Ryan Thompson. A lot of guys have been able to supply a sub 335 ERA. Pretty much nobody below 225, so a lot of equals there. And for the Diamondbacks, it's been a league average offense overall for the season, but that does ascend to the top 12 away from Ketel Marte, Corbin Carroll. Both have been able to give you 11 home runs apiece. Marte's hitting about a 250, more like a 280 for Carroll. Carroll about a 372 on base, and then Nolan Arenado, he's turning back time, hitting a little bit above a 250. Ilyarmo Vargas continues to move line, hitting at 275. Could use a little bit more from some of these like mix and match outfielders. Adrian Del Castro, he's hitting below the middle line 200. You've had some very shakiness from Ore Barossa and guys like this, but overall I do think that the Diamondbacks going to do an okay job against Lodolo, but I just believe in him rounding into form here. So I did set my total at 9.3. I'm in on the under, and I do like the Reds on the money line. Set them at minus 106. 905, 906 on the card. It's the Braves. They're going to be on the road against the Mets as Nolan McLean is on the bump for the Mets. Spencer Strider goes for the Braves. The Braves are a slim favorite here. You're going to be getting them between minus 102 to a minus 112. Meanwhile, minus 108 to a minus 116 is that number on the Mets. So relative pick 'em. 8 to 8.5 is the total on the 8.5. Under is minus 125. Over is plus 105 on the 8. Over and under between minus 105 to a minus 115. And I set the Braves at a minus 128. Going to be willing to take a shot on them on the money line. Now, for Spencer Strider, has had some issues giving up the deep ball. He's posting up an ERA that is a 4, closer to a 447 fielding dependent, because he has been giving up in that neighborhood about 1.5 home runs and 4.8 walks per 9 innings, but still gets well above 10 strikeouts per 9 innings, and he's just supported by a great cast. It's a Braves team that is second in the league in terms of run creation away from home with about 5.8 runs per game. That bullpen, numero uno in terms of ERA. Tyler Kinley is sub 325 ERA. The Dylan Dodd, Dylan Lee, they've both been able to give you a sub 225 ERA. You've had Racio Iglesias, Robert Suarez be solid, and then Ronaldo Lopez is able to lend some length. And then when it comes to lineup, Matt Olson enters into yesterday with 19 home runs, hitting about a 275. Just so many guys moving the line. Ori Mateo's now hitting at 300. Ozzy. Albies, 10 home runs with about a 280 average. Now, still have some shakiness at the catcher spot because Drake Baldwin is currently dealing with a little bit of an injury, but Mauricio Dubon moves line. Mike Caleres hitting above a 300. He's up to 30 13 home runs. And on the other end, you do have a Mets team that continues to be in the bottom 8 in the big leagues in terms of run creation. They were able to get the deep ball going a little bit more yesterday, so feel good there. Juan Soto has continued to be able to get this team over at 360 on base. He's been able to supply the team with 14 home runs, so he's been able to do his part, but you still have Bo Bichette. I recognize he had a home run yesterday, but he and Marcus Semien, between 6 to 8 home runs apiece, both give you less than a 290 on base. Getting back Francisco Alvarez is going to be able to help out the team, but other than Juan Soto, only Jacob Young saw an at-bat yesterday with above a 318 on base. So I will say Carson Benjay had that 5-hit game against the Padres about a week or so ago. It is a Mets team that has actually been very good with their bullpen. They're a top 7 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Austin Warren, Oscar Brisbane, Brooks Raley, these are guys they'll give you a sub-3 ERA. Devin Williams continues to be shaky, but now you've got AJ Minter off the injured list. Luke Weaver has really rounded into form, so I do think that you're going to be able to get a little bit of a lower scoring game, especially with Nolan McLean being on the mound. I will say for McLean, he's really struggled recently. 21 runs, 18 of which have been earned across his last 5 starts. He still has been able to get about 10.3 or so strikeouts per 9 innings, but he is starting to give up the deep ball a little bit more, a 398 ERA, 3.4 walks per 9 innings. So I did set a total here of an 8.1. Personally, I would much rather have an 8.5 to the under rather than an 8 to the over. Right now, we're mostly seeing 8s, but if I could get an 8.5, I'm going to be all aboard that under, and I do like the Braves here on the money line. I did set them at a minus 128. 9.79 right on the card. It's the Phillies. They're going to be on the road against the Brewers. Jacob Mizorowski, the Miz, is on the bump for the Brewers, and Andrew Painter is on the bump for the Phillies. The total on this game between 7.5 to 8. On the 8, under is minus 120. The over is even. On the 7.5, over is minus 120 to minus 125. The under is between even and plus 105 for Milwaukee, and between minus 235 to minus 260 is that number. Plus 194 to as high as a plus 210 is that number on the Phillies. If you're looking to lay a run out for the Brewers, right now you're finding that at a respectable minus 105, and I'm willing to lay that run line with the Brewers. I can only set them at a minus 227 on the money line, but I'm willing to take a shot here on the run line because Andrew Painter, boy oh boy, has it been rough for him to say the least, and I do think that there's a little bit of positivity doing here for Andrew Painter. 621 ERA with 1.7 home runs, 2.9 walks per 9 innings, but the 509 fielding dependent points towards positivity. But how about this run for Jacob Mizorowski over his last 7 starts, 2 runs, one of which was earned in 45 and a third innings. He overall for the season getting 13.4 strikeouts per 9 innings. Overall for the season down to a 150 ERA with only like 2.4, 2.5 walks per 9 innings, and he faces a Phillies lineup that is 28th in the big leagues in terms of run creation away from him, averaging 3.75 runs per game. It's Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper who have just carried the mail for this team, and both have been tremendous. For Schwarber, 24 home runs, 360 on base. Bryce Harper, 15 home runs, 375 on base, but nobody else is hitting for this team. That infield has Alec Boehm, Trey Turner down for what? The entirety of the catcher spot, Bryson Stott, all hitting for a 230 or less, all giving on-base percentage of a 290 or less, all with 8 home runs or less. So, man, that's been an issue. Adolis Garcia's had a home run or 2 over the last week, but he continues to hit right around about a $195. You just see more out of these guys. And for the Phillies, they've rounded into form with their bullpen since May 1st. They've been a top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA. You've got Yohan Duran, who's been a very reliable closer for you, coupled with Ryan Kirkring, give you a sub-3 ERA. Tim Mason, when he's been out there, about a 3.41 ERA. I know Chase Shogurt has been a little bit shaky, but still about a 3.48 ERA. You want to be avoiding some of these guys like Jonathan Bolin, who's approaching a 4 ERA. Jose Alvarado has been an issue. And for the Brewers, they've been a top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA as well. I know that Abner Uribe, along Trevor McGill, have had a few issues this season, but whenever they've thrown out there Brian Fitzpatrick, he's been able to do a solid job to alternate up Hall. I like what I'm seeing there. He's been able to give you about a 2 or so ERA, and then you've been able to get some good relief out of Grant Anderson as well. So I do think that for the Brewers, they do find a way to get the job done in a lower scoring game. So by total 7.4, I'm going to be willing to take a shot on their run line. I do like the under, so my total at that 7.4. 9.9, 9.10 on the card. It is the Cubs. They are going to be on the road against the San Francisco Giants. Javier Assad is on the bump for the Cubs. Landon Roop is on the bump for the Giants. The Giants are minus 116 favorites, minus 102 for the Cubs, and the total on this game, it is 8. The over is minus 120, and the under is even. I do like the under here. I did set my total at a 7.5. Landon Roop has been really good for the San Francisco Giants team, and I think that he's going to be able to keep it going for Roop. He's been able to really up his swing and miss stuff, and the ERA just does not point towards how good of a pitcher he's actually been this far this season. As for Landon Roop, that ERA right now hovering in the neighborhood about a 4, but fielding independence at 302, 0.5 home runs, 9.9 strikeouts per 9 innings. Recognize that he could work on the 3.9 walks per 9 innings, but all in all, I really like what I've seen out of him. for him as well. He also pitches in one of the most pitcher-friendly environments in all baseball out there in San Francisco, and specifically when he's been at home this far this season, he's actually posted up a little bit of a higher ERA rather than away from home, but I think that should iron out. And for Javier Assad, he was really good in long relief on Sunday Night Baseball. Always have my question marks with him. 4.73 ERA with a 4.37 fielding dependent this far this season. Just has always been a pitcher contact guy. 5.5 strikeouts per 9 innings this far this season. But again, pitching out there in San Francisco, that should be able to help him out quite a bit. And this is a Giants team that it's indicated with regards to home and road splits. They've been one of the most rough offenses in all baseball at home this far this season. It's right now 26th with about 3.95 runs per game at home, closer to about 4.4 runs per game away from home. And for the Giants, you continue to have Willie Adames along with Rafael Devers waste money. They've been a little bit better recently, so that's good. It's been Casey Schmidt who's been the main guy, though. I mean, for Schmidt, 15 home runs, hitting about a 275, and then for Adames, he's up to 11 home runs, but 281 on base. You expect a little bit more there. Rafael Devers, 9 home runs, 292 on base. Just expect a little bit more there. Now you've got guys moving the line. Jung-Ho Lee, Luis Ariz are both hitting above a 325. One of Roy Ramos has been out there. He's been solid, but unfortunately, he hit the injured list. Bryce Eldridge, as a young guy, he's giving you about a 385 on base, but still have Harrison Bader, has been completely useless as far this season. Daniel Susic has stepped up at the catcher spot, so all in all, that's been solid, and Giants are about a league average team with regards to their bullpen ERA. Caleb Killian, the former Chicago Cub, got off to a really nice start to the season, starting to wane a little bit, down to about a 3.34 ERA for him, but you've had these guys like a Yoel Piguero just came off the injured list, give you a sub 250 ERA. JT Brubaker is able to give you about a 3.20 ERA. Same Antiges has been solid in a small sample size, and it's a Chicago Cubs team that they themselves, prior to heading to Coors, they've been a top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA, and you've been able to get some good innings out of quite a few guys that were on the injured list. Daniel Palencia is out with injury, and he's now been able to give you a sub 3 ERA. Jacob Webb has been really solid as well. Trent Thornton, since coming off the injured list, he's been able to give you a sub 2 ERA. Caleb Theobar continues to be a roll that I see in Obi Milner between about a 3.80 to a 4 ERA, but all in all, that's been solid. Cubs are just not situationally hitting, though. You've had Ian Happ be able to give you 15 home runs. It's for just a 231 average, but he has been able to give you about a 348 on base, and lots of equals with regards to the on base percentage. These are all guys giving you between about a 328 to a 351 on base. Miguel Amaya, Pete Armstrong, Michael Conforto, Sei Suzuki, Nico Horner. So, they've all been able to move the line somewhat, but it just feels like they can't drive men in. Moises Ballesteros has had a little bit of issue as well, and I do think that Landon Group going to go out there, be able to shut it down, and what I think is going to be a lower scoring game. So my total 7.5, like the under, and for the Giants, I'm willing to lay up to a minus 122 on the money line, set the men at minus 123, 9-11, 9-12 on the betting board. You've got the Walker Texas Rangers on the road against the Boston Red Sox, as Sonny Gray hopes to give a sunny day here for Boston, and Jack Leiter is on the bump for Texas. 8.5 is the total, the over is minus 115, the under is minus 105, and with Boston, they are between minus 126 to a minus 140 favorites, plus 108 to a plus 115 is that number on the Rangers, and I'm going to take a shot here on the under. I did set my total at a 7.8 for the Boston Red Sox. They just continue to not be able to hit at home. 3.3 runs per game at home. That is dead stinking last in all of baseball. That'll be very much to the benefit of Jack Leiter, who's had a few command issues, but he is able to go out there and give you quite a few swings and misses. For Jack Leiter, 4.69 ERA, 1.4 home runs, 3.9 walks per 9 innings, but still spying about 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. And we've seen Sonny Gray really wane with regards to his strikeout stuff. Fewer than 8 strikeouts per 9 innings. I believe that's on pace to be a career low for him, but he's doing a nice job not hurting himself. He's only giving up about 1 home run, 2.6 walks per 9 innings, so he's doing a good job keeping things out in front of him, and that fielding dependent does indicate that maybe he's due in for a little bit of regression here. His ERA is right around about a 320, closer to about a 380 to a 390 fielding independent, but overall has been able to do a relatively solid job there. You just don't know where the offense is going to be coming from, really, for both teams, because the Rangers, they themselves are a bottom 10 team in terms of run creation. Now, we'll say they've been averaging more than a full half a run per game more when they've been away from home rather than at home, and you are getting back Corey Seager along with Wyatt Langford, but neither guy has really done anything thus far this season. Both guys below a 285 on base. For Seager, still hitting below the middle side 200. Good for him being able to get a home run yesterday, so that helps out quite a bit. Brandon Nimmo continues to move line, give you about a 335 on base. Josh Young sitting at 300. Ezekiel Duran just below that, and Jake Berger does give you a double-figure amount of homers, but he's also down to about a 307 on base. The strength of this Rangers team has been their bullpen. They've been number 3 in terms of bullpen ERA. The Jacobs, Jacob Junis, Jacob Latz, both of these guys have been able to give you a sub 3 ERA. They're getting Cole Winn off the injured list. Last year had a sub 2 ERA, has struggled this season, but think that he should round into form, and the Tyler Alexander has been a nice long guy for the team. But for the Red Sox, they have been fourth in the league in terms of bullpen ERA themselves. They're getting Garrett Whitlock back from injury. He's been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. Giovanni Morin is dealing with a little bit of ailment, and Danny Klum has not necessarily been himself this season, but after a rough start to the season, Greg Weisert is rounding into form. Ryan Watson, Tyler Semenijo, these mix and match guys have been relatively solid. And now the big key is being able to get a little bit more on offense. And you've had likes of Masataka Yoshida, Weiler Abreu, Cedon Rafaela, give between about a 330 to a 350 on base, throwing their Mickey Gasper as well. Caleb Durbin, I know that he had a multi-home run game, but he's been hanging below the Mendoza line of 200. Marcelo Myers still with a little bit of injury, and Isaiah Carefaleffa, even though he really doesn't give you power, at the very least, he's getting on base a little bit. It's fun all up to Wilson Contreras so thus far this season. Over 380 on base, 13 home runs. He's been able to do a solid job. So to make my total a 7.8, I'm going to be in on the under. For the Red Sox, set them at a minus 134, so minus 133 or less. That puts me in on this money line. 913, 914 on the card. The Tigers are going to be on the road against the Guardians. Tanner Bybee goes for the Guardians, and Captain Jack Flaherty's on the bump for Detroit. 8.5 is the total. Over and under, both at minus 110. Well, to pick 'em game here. With the Tigers, you're finding them pretty much minus 110 across the board. Minus 105 to minus 110 is that number on Cleveland. And I'm going to be willing to take a shot here on the Guardians. I did set them at a minus 136. I recognize that Tanner Bybee has not necessarily had the world's greatest season. It's been a little bit better at home this season. The ERA does go down to a 3.76 when he is at home. He's still been giving up the deep ball, whether he's been at home or away from home. 4.09 ERA, 1.5 home runs, 7.4 strikeouts per 9 innings, but should benefit from facing off against the Tigers lineup that they are 29th in the league in terms of road scoring with 3.7 runs per game. Now, they should be a little bit better moving forward. Getting back Gleyber Torres off the injury list, he's been able to give you over a 390 on base. Kevin McGonigal, Riley Green, they're both over a 390 on base as well. That's upside. And then Cole Keith has been able to about a 260 as well, but you're not getting a lot of power out of these guys. Dylan Dingler, pretty much the only guy with above 10 home runs this season, and he's been able to about a 255. That's solid, but then you've got these guys like a Jake Rogers, Matt Vierling, Zach Short, Wencio Perez, Zach McKinstry, a lot of guys hitting at 225 or lower. Spencer Torkelson has been awful this year. 211 average, he's been giving you a single-digit amount of homers, so got a lot of guys that are just not cutting it at the plate. For the Guardians, they are finding themselves back outside the top 20 in terms of run creation as well, and you need a little bit more of your star guys. Steven Kwan has been hitting below a 225. Jose Ramirez, he's right around about 9 to 10 home runs, only gave you about a 345 on base. You just expect a little bit more there, though. You have had a few unexpected guys be able to step up, like Brian Rocchio is up to a 355 on base. Anel Martinez has been able to give you 11 home runs. Jason Lauder continues to move the line, 330 on base. The power that he had towards the beginning part of the season has really waned. And Travis Bazzana, the former number 1 overall pick, 350 on base. But for the Guardians, they've been able to round into form with their bullpen. Since May 1st, they're a top 9 team in terms of bullpen ERA, even with Eric Zabrowski currently being on the injury list. Cade Smith, after a shaky start to the season, he's been able to fly over 20 saves. He, Sean Armstrong, Tim Aaron give you a sub 335 ERA. Matt Festa has been a little bit better in that bullpen as well. And then for the Tigers, you're dealing with a lot of injuries with this bullpen. Will Vest, when he's been out there, he's been awful. He's been pretty banged up throughout the season. Kenley Jansen, who I don't trust him to start with, he's on the injury list. Birch Smith has been banged up as well, so got a lot of ailments there. Emmanuel De Jesus, when they've had to go to him, he's got over a 4 ERA. Drew Anderson, more like a 380 ERA, so it's been a lot of mix and match there. And when it comes to Jack Flaherty, you just have to be so concerned about the command, because for Flaherty, he's actually got a fielding dependent that's much better than his ERA. 5.31 ERA, closer to a 4.12 fielding dependent, because he does get strikeouts, 11.1 strikeouts per 9 innings, giving up about 1.1, 1.2 home runs per 9 innings, but the 4.7 walks per 9 innings to give way to the bullpen, that's been an issue. So I do think the Guardians get the job down here. I think that's a lower scoring game as well. Somebody told 7.8, so I'm going to be willing to take a shot here on the under, and the Guardians on the money line, set them at a minus 136. 9:15, 9:16 on the card. The Yankees are going to be on the road against the Blue Jays. Trey Savage goes for the Jays, and Ryan Weathers. So Weathers a storm for the Yankees. Yankees are between minus 106 to minus 110, minus 110 to minus 114. That number on the Jays. 8 is a total, over and under both at minus 110, and I do like the under. I set my total at 7.6. Trey Savage has been really good since coming off the injury list. Had a little bit of a rough last start or two, but still, he's getting only about 0.4 home runs allowed per 9 innings, 3.18 ERA, 3.06 fielding dependent, with 9.3 strikeouts per 9 innings. Can sometimes give up a few walks, but with this Yankees team, although they are overall for the season 5th in the league in terms of run creation with 5.1 runs per game, we always see this offense just start to toilet bowl with Aaron Judge out of the lineup. I do think that they're a little bit more equipped to be able to hold down the fort without Judge this season than they have been in the past, because you've had Ben Rice do a very nice job in terms of stepping up, 18 home runs, 390 on base, and you've had Cody Bellinger be a nice, shall we say, ancillary guy, give you about a 370 or so on base. He's up to 9 home runs, and then I've had a few other mix mix and match guys. Paul Goldschmidt turning back time with about a 365 on base, but the infielders have been rough. Jazz Chisholm, 9 home runs with about a 230 average. You need a little bit more there. Anthony Volpe hitting below the middle side corner. The catcher spot has been a nightmare. Ryan McMahon is not giving you too much. And for the Yankees, your main two guys in Camilo Duvall along David Bednar in this bullpen, they have been booping the Bednar. Both of these guys are giving you over a 3.80 ERA. Tim Hill's been having some issues as well. Now, some of the lesser guys, Fernando Cruz, Brent Hendrick, these guys have been able to give you sub 2 ERA. Paul Blackburn, as a long guy, has been able to give you about a 3 ERA. And then for the Blue Jays, it's a very top-heavy bullpen of their own, as you've got a trio of guys in Braden Fisher, Louis Varland, along with Tyler Rogers, that have been able to give you a sub 3 ERA. And then you've got Jeff Hoffman, who's been not very trustworthy, to say the least. Mason Fluharty's been a little bit better recently, but Tommy Nance, Yariel Rodriguez, not really guys that you can bank on. And I do think that for the Blue Jays, they should see some positivity with this offense. Top 3 team in terms of field strikeouts on a per at-bat basis. They just haven't gotten much out of Andres Jimenez, along with George Springer. Neither guy's hitting for power. Both of these guys hitting below 225. That's been an issue, but outside of those guys, we've got a lot of guys moving line. Brandon Valenzuela has hit like 4 home runs over the last 2 weeks. He's giving you about a 333 on base. Then you've got Yoendrick Pinago, Ernie Clement, Vlad Guerrero Jr., a bunch of guys hitting at 280 or better. These guys are all moving the line. Guerrero, 3 home runs this far this season. That's been a little bit rough, but even Nathan Lukes, he's been able to about a 300 as well. Jesus Sanchez, just below 300 as well. And I do think that for the Blue Jays, they do a good enough job in terms of getting to Ryan Weathers, who has been getting a career-high 10.2 strikeouts per 9 innings. He only gives up in that neighborhood about 2.6, 2.7 walks per 9 innings, so he's been able to do a relatively solid job there, but he does give up the 1.7 home runs per 9 innings, so like the under semi-total at a 7.6 and with the Blue Jays, I'm in on the money line, set them at a minus 142. 917, 918 on the card. It's the Astros. They're going to be on the road facing off against the Royals. Luinder Avila is on the bump for the Royals, and Tatsuya Amai goes for the Astros. And the Stros, who find themselves, in this case, a very slim favorite here of anywhere between minus 115 to minus 122, minus 102 to plus 102. That number on Kansas City, 9 to 9.5 is the total. On the 9.5, under is minus 115, over is minus 105. On the 9, over is minus 115, under is minus 105. And for the Astros, set them on the money line at a minus 108. If you're taking a look at laying a run half with regards to this Astros run line, you're only getting that right around about a plus 130 or so. I would need to get much better value there. As a matter of fact, if I really had to play this right now, I'd be taking a run and a half with the Royals. I'd much rather see this just go to them being a plus 110 underdog, and that's where I do think that it's going to be going when it's all said and done. But if I don't get that plus 110 money line, I would be looking to just take a run half at like a minus 145, minus 150, just banking on the Royals in some form or capacity, because for the Royals, that's a very, very brutal offense. Let's call it what it is, but that said, they've been much better at home. They're averaging about 4.3 runs per game, which isn't saying much, but they average 3.5 runs per game away from home. That is dead sinking last in all of baseball. At the very least, they're outside the bottom 10 with regards to their offense when they are at home. You saw Bobby Witt Jr., who's been able to give you a 350 on base. He's been up to 9 home runs this season. Now they've got a lot of guys that are slumping. The likes of Lane Thomas, Isaac Collins, Nick Lofton, Carter Jensen, whole bunch of guys hitting between about a 215 to a 230. You're really not getting a lot of power out of any of those guys. Vinny Pasquantino, 310 on base. He's right around 9 to 10 home runs. You expect more there. Salvador Perez, less than a 280 on base. You just need more out of these guys. And for the Royals, it certainly has been a rough bullpen for them, but it does feel like they're starting to find their sea legs. Lucas Erceg has been a disaster this year, over a 5 ERA, but Alex Lang has been a little bit better recently. Daniel Lynch has given you a sub 3.25 ERA. Same goes for John Schreiber. And on the other side of things, it is an Astros team that they continue to be a bottom 5 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Now, the good news is you get back Josh Hader. He's looked very solid in the few appearances that he's been making. And then you do have a few other guys like Brian King, Aniel De Los Santos, give you a sub 350 ERA. Stephen O'Kurt, presentable guy with about a 3 ERA. So they've been able to round into better form there. And for the Astros, this is a lineup that has been very solid with two main guys in Yordan Alvarez, over a 400 base, 20 plus home runs. Christian Walker hitting at 250, 16 home runs. Then been able to carry the mail. Now you're getting Jose Altuve back off the injury list. But I mean, these outfielders that have been mix and match have been awful. Zach Cole, Zach DeCenzo, Jake Myers, Cam Smith, all these guys hitting at 235 or lower with not a lot of power. Isaac Paredes is one of the biggest pull hitters that we've ever seen in our lives. And for Luinder Avila, it's been a small sample size from him. He's looked relatively solid for the Royals. Began the season as a little bit more of a long reliever. They've been trying to stretch him out a little bit more, and so far it's been okay. Like, he gave up 1 run over the course of 5 innings in his last 2 starts, so you like to see that. And overall, it's a 4.02 ERA, slightly lower fielding dependent with a 3.97 He is pitching to quite a bit of contact. He's getting only about 8 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he's only given up 0.6 home runs per 9 innings, so 5.5 walks per 9 innings. That's a very big concern. And for Tatsuya Amai, it was really difficult for him in the first few starts of the season. Has actually rounded into a relatively good form. That combined no-hitter was really able to get him going. He has now allowed a grand total of 7 runs over the course of his last 4 starts. He's won 5+ innings in 3 of those starts, so he's starting to be able to find it a little bit more. He also has command issues, so 9.4 strikeouts to 6 walks per 9 innings. So if I can get the Royals at a +109 or better at home, I'll take a shot on the money line. If not, I'll just take the run F and lay the juice there. And with regards to this total, did set mine at a 9.2. Right now, with the way that both of these bullpens are operating and the fences being moved in at Kauffman Stadium, I'm going to take a shot on that 9 to the over to go along with that money line / run line with the Kansas City Royals. 919, 920 on the card. The Rays are going to be on the road against the Angels. Sam Itajiri is on the bump for the Angels, and Shane McClanahan goes for the Rays. Rays -168 to -185 favorites, +142 to +155. That number on Los Angeles, 8.5 is the total. Overs -110 to -120. Unders between even to -110. And if you're looking to lay the Rays run line, that's anywhere between even money to -110. Want to go up to a -110. Set my run line price at a -111 with Sugar Shane McClanahan. He's had himself a nice season thus far. Did get lit up a little bit more in his last start, but I mean, that's pretty understandable. You were in a rough situation on the road, but overall, for Shane McClanahan, 285 ERA, 294 fielding dependent, about 9 strikeouts per 9 innings with only a half home run allowed per 9, and he faces a Angels lineup that has been absolutely awful at home this season. For the Angels, 27th in the league in terms of run creation at home with about 3.9 runs per game. That goes up to 5 runs per game away from them. Like, they're a top 6 offense away from them. They're just not doing the job at home. And for the Tampa Bay Rays, this has been an offense that has been pretty rock solid themselves. Right now for the Rays, they do find themselves 10th in the big leagues, averaging about 4.6 runs per game. And I do think that against the young gun and M. DeJerry, who he's seen a few cups of coffee at the big league level, has never really been able to stick because he's got a career 5.12 ERA and a career 6.01 fielding dependent. 7 strikeouts, 5.8 walks per 9 innings. That's a little bit of an issue now. In the 12 innings that he's had at the big league level thus far this season, a little bit better, 2.25 ERA, but that's backed up by a 4.11 fielding dependent. 6 strikeouts, 3.8 walks per 9 innings, and that's a sign that regression might be to come, especially with a Rays lineup that you've got a trio of guys that are all giving you at least a 375 on base, and Junior Caminero, Yandy Diaz, along with Jonathan Aranda, and all these guys are supplying boom. All these guys, 11 plus home runs with Caminero. He's been your main man. He's up to 14 home runs this season. And Chandler Simpson, he's one of the better base stealers in all baseball. He's hitting a 275. Ryan Vilde, he's been hitting above a 250. Ben Williamson, right around about a 340 on base. Lots and lots of guys moving line. And for the Rays, this was a bullpen that was miserable to begin the season, but Casey Lugumina, since getting to Tampa Bay, sub 3 ERA. Cam Boozer, they're kicking the tires on him after he spent last year with the Red Sox. So far, so good out of him. Now, Cole Sulzer, Garrett Clevenger, about 4 ERAs, but Brian Baker has been able to do a solid job as well. And then with the Angels, man, this is a bullpen that's in the bottom 5 of the big leagues. They were throwing Alek Manoah out of the bullpen. That tells you just how bad this bullpen is. Now, Chase Silseth, man, will give you sub 350 ERA along Sam Bachman. These guys have been solid. Brent Suter, though, up above a 4.25 ERA. Same goes for Kirby Yates. They just have got a lot of guys. Drew Pomeranz, they're long in the tooth, and it is a little bit of an all-or-nothing team. They're dealing with Von Grisham now being on the injury list, along with Ori Soler, Nolan Schunoll is dealing with the big ailments, and Logan Hoppe can't be all happy about the fact that he's got a 212 average with 3 home runs. Obviously, you've got Mike Trout continuing to give you a 375 on base, 14 plus home runs. And I will say, Wade Meckler in a small sample size has been hitting above a 300. Young guy, he's been called up to the big leagues. He's been looking relatively solid. You saw Joe Adell giving you a little bit of power, but less than a 300 base as well. So do think that the Rays go out there, get the job done. And I just don't think that the Angels do their part with this total at home. Like the unders, if I tell it at 8.4, I want the Rays willing to lay up to -110 on the run line. 921, 922 on the card. It's the Mariners. They're going to be on the road against the Nationals as Zach Littell goes for the Nationals, and Mr. Bryce Miller is on the bump for Seattle. Seattle is a favorite between -140 to -150, +120 to +128. That's your number on Washington. 9.5 to 9 is the total. On the 9, over is -120. The under's even. On the 9.5, under is -120. Over is even money, and I did set the Nationals here at a +147, so I'm going to be willing to go up to -140 with the Mariners. Now, even though Zach Littell is currently listed as a starter, don't be surprised if you see someone like a PJ Poulin, Richard Dickey Lovelady as an opener, because they've been doing that with Littell all throughout the season, so that's something that you need to be taking into account. And for Littell, he's been lucky to have a 4.76 ERA this season. 5.95 fielding independent, 2.1 home runs allowed per 9 innings, 5.5 strikeouts, 2.8 walks per 9 innings. He just hasn't been good. Whether he's had an opener in front of him, whether he's been a starter, has not been great. And Bryce Miller is really putting it together this season. How about a 1.33 ERA? He was piggybacked with Luis Castillo for a little bit of time. Now he's the main man, and even as the main man and having a little bit more pressure on him in the last start, 6 shutout innings against the Detroit Tigers, only allowed 1 in, and he's given up 0.7 home runs, 1.7 walks per 9 innings thus far this season. Now, he does have the task of going up against a Nationals team that's currently in top 3 in the big leagues in terms of run creation. James Wood, CJ Abrams, these guys have been tremendous. With Wood, he's been able to give you good Wood with 18-plus home runs over a 400 on base. Abrams closer about a 375 on base with 14 home runs. And you had something like a Curtis Mead give you 9 to 10 home runs. He's over a 340 on base. Luis Garcia doesn't draw a lot of walks along Keibert Ruiz, but both of these guys hang above a 250. Someone like Dallin Lyle has been able to move the line as well, but clear that the Nationals don't have the same bullpen as the Seattle Mariners. Now for the Mariners, Matt Brash has been dealing with a lot of injuries, but the likes of Gabe Spire, Edward Bizzardo and company have been able to give you a sub-325 ERA, deal with a little bit of an ailment to Cooper Kurzweil as well. And Andres Munoz has not been himself thus far this season, but I think that he's going to round into form. Meanwhile, Paxton Schultz continues to give you over a 4.50 ERA for this Nationals team. I will say Brad Lord has been a really good long guy, but Mitchell Parker over a 5 ERA, Gus Farland over a 5 ERA, so I do think that there's issues here, and I do think that the Mariners, as a result, get the job done here. I do think that you're going to see a little bit of regression here for Bryce Miller, so I did set my total at a 9.2, but 9.5 just a little bit too high here, especially with a Mariners lineup that is in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of run creation. Obviously, Cal Raleigh being on the injury list that hurt them. You've had Luke Raley along with Julio Rodriguez really be the main guys in terms of being able to supply boom for the team. Both of these guys are between 12 and 13 home runs apiece, both hitting about a 250. Randy Rosarena moves the line, give you about a 380 on base, but now you've got J.P. Crawford on the injury list. Cole Young, a presentable 250 average. Josh Naylor at a 260, but combined 11 home runs between those two guys. Need a little bit more there, and then some of these mix and match guys like Leo Rivas, Rob Revsteiner and company just have not been able to do a ton. So looking at the 9.5 under, and for the Mariners, one to lay up to minus 146 on the money line. 923, 924 on the card. The Padres are going to be on the road against the Orioles. The Wizard of Oz, Shane Baz, goes for Baltimore. Good at Finn Canning goes for the Padres. Padres are finding themselves as an underdog here, anywhere between plus 118 to a plus 125. Minus 140 to minus 145 is that number on the Orioles. 8.5 is the total. Over is minus 115 to minus 120. Under is between minus 105 and even money. Gonna take a shot here on the Padres. Set them at a plus 113. Now for the Padres, out of 30 MLB teams, they are currently 30th in terms of run creation, but I do think that a lot of that offense is being suppressed at home. Only 3.47 runs per game at Petco Park. Meanwhile, closer to 4.25 runs per game away from home. Now the Orioles, they've been very good with their offense at home. 5th in the league in terms of run creation at home with a little bit over 5 runs per game, but I still do have some question marks with regards to this offense because you got Gunnar Henderson, who's been able to give you 14 plus home runs this season. He's just not moving line with about a 288 on base. Now Pete Alonso, he's rounding into form. 15 home runs, 345 on base. That's more of the Pete Alonso than we all know and love. Taylor Ward had 30 home runs last season with the Angels, down to 3 this season, but hey, you'll take the 400 on base. Samuel Basayo, Leody Taveras, these are guys hitting right around about a 260, but then you've got likes of Jackson Holiday, Colin Cowser only hitting at 230. We'll say for Holiday, does feel like he's starting to round into form. Cowser was able to give you a home run yesterday, but Kobe Mayo, Tyler O'Neill, these are guys having issues, and for the Orioles, this has been a really atrocious bullpen. They're a bottom 8 team in terms of bullpen ERA, even with having Yenir Cano, don't you know, along with Uncle Rico Garcia, give you a sub-3 ERA. Grant Wolfram is a roll of the dice. Anthony Nunez over a 450 ERA. Since coming off the injury list, Keegan Aiken along with Andrew Kittredge, these guys have been absolutely brutal. And on the other side of things, you've got a Padres team that is in the top 5 in terms of bullpen ERA. Mason Miller, Jason Adam, both of these guys give you a sub-2 ERA. I know that Yuki Matsue has had a rough week in general, but he still give you a sub-250 ERA. Ron Mananaccio sometimes gets a little bit lit up, but when that's like your weak link in the bullpen, along with Andre Morejon, you know that your bullpen is doing a solid job. And for Fernando Tatis Jr., hey, he's up to 2 home runs this season. He was able to have that walk-off. He's actually been able to give you a 340 on base. Kevin Cheats, Manny Machado, both of these guys have been able to give you 10 plus home runs this far this season, but as we know, things have been all sorts of brutal for those guys in terms of getting on base. Both of those guys give you less than a 300 on base, so you're going to need a little bit more there. Miguel Andujar has been regressing along Xander Bogaerts as the season goes along, but still, it is an offense that's been a little bit better away from home. You've been able to have Ty France be able to move the line, get on base a little bit more as well. So this is a circumstance where I'm going to be willing to trust in the Padres, even though Griffin Canning has had himself a very rough season, to say the least. For Canning, he began the season on the injury list. I'm still a little bit of a believer in his stuff. We saw him have a nice year last year with the New York Mets. For Canning, he's given up 300 runs or fewer now in each out of his last 4 starts. So it does seem to be clicking a little bit more. 6.34 ERA, closer to 5.03 4.3 fielding dependent, 1.7 home runs, 4.7 walks per 9 innings, but is up to about 9.1 strikeouts per 9 innings. And then for the Wizard of Oz, has been much better for him recently. 4.09 ERA, fielding dependent, more on about a 3.99. He's only getting about 7.7 strikeouts per 9 innings, but down to about 0.9 home runs per 9 innings, and has given up either 1 or 2 earned runs in each out of his last 4 starts. So it's a very interesting circumstance here. I did somebody told it at 8.8, so plus 114 or better. Looking at the Padres on the money line, and with this total of 8.5, because you do have that Orioles bullpen, I do like the over. 925, 926 on the card. It's the Dodgers. They're going to be on the road against the White Sox. Hiroki Sasaki is on the bump for the Dodgers. It is old undecided on the bump for the White Sox. This is off the board. It's looking like Anthony Kay is going to get the start after the game was postponed on Thursday, and right now we're seeing some openers with a minus 145 on the Dodgers. Right now I'm seeing the White Sox in that neighborhood about a plus 125 to a plus 130, and a total of 9. Under is minus 120, and the over is even. I did set my total at a 9.2, so I'm going to be in on the over. When it comes to the White Sox, certainly an offense has been very rock solid. They've been a top 12 team in terms of run creation, but that said, you do have a White Sox team that has been very vulnerable with regards to their pitching, so they've had to slug their way to victory. And now you've got Montaka Murakami on the injured list, Miguel Vargas, Colson Montgomery, 16 home runs apiece, and for Vargas, he moves the line, about a 370 on base. Not so much for Montgomery, who's been dealing with a little bit of ailment over the last few days, has been in and out of the lineup, only about a 322 on base. Now you are getting some of these guys, like a Tristan Peters, give you a 355 on base, Chase Meadroth, closer about a 345 on base, Sam Antonassi has been able to move the line, but still have Luan Acuna, Edgar Quiero, guys like this, hitting at 200 or lower, and then you've got that White Sox bullpen that has just been all sorts of miserable. When you've got Sir Anthony Dominguez as your closer, that is not a place where you want to be. Now, they've had some bright spots here. The likes of Grant Taylor, Brian Hudson, Sean Newcomb, they've been able to supply a sub-3 ERA, and Tyler Davis has been able to give you some presentable innings, but now he's starting to regress. When they trotted out there Lucas Sims, that was not great to say the least, and this has been a Dodgers team that has been in the top 10 in terms of opening ERA. Recognize that some of these guys have been a little bit up and down recently. Tanner Scott 2 weeks ago had a little bit of a rough one, but that said, for Scott, he's still been able to do a nice job being able to look like that guy that he was a few seasons ago, down below 3 ERA. Jack Dreyer has been able to give you an ERA hovering right around about 3. Alex Vesia, sub-3 ERA, and for the Dodgers, they are averaging over 6 runs per game away from them. That is numero uno in all of baseball. Andy Paez has led the way with 15 home runs, hitting about a 280, but then Max Muncy gives you a 360 on base. He slugs for 14 home runs. Shohei Ohtani, over a 4 on base. He's on pace once again to be able to have a 25-plus home run season. Freddie Freeman has been able to lock in as well. They've had to look to someone like an Alex Freeland a little bit more, but even he has been able to move the line along with Hyesung Kim, who they recalled from the minor league level as well. And when it comes to Hiroki Sasaki, it was just an absolutely awful start to the season, but I like what I've seen out of him recently. Overall for the season, a 4.03 ERA with a 4.57 fielding dependent. The walks have been a little bit of an issue throughout his career, but he's really been able to lock in 2 walks or fewer in each out of his last 5 appearances. And you take a look at it, he's given up 4 earned runs and 5 runs in total over the course of his last 4 appearances. So things really seem to be clicking for him. And then for Anthony Kay, he's been better recently, but is coming off of giving up a 6 spot in his last start against the Philadelphia Phillies. And he, in my opinion, is lucky to have a 4.40 ERA, 5.49 fielding dependent, 1.5 home runs, 3.8 walks allowed per 9 innings. He's not getting a lot of strikeouts with about 6.8 strikeouts per 9 innings. So do think the Dodgers do a nice job taking it to him. Seeing that total of 9, I like the over. And for the Dodgers, I'm going to bypass the money line. The run line price is plus 115. I was willing to lay up to minus 107, so willing to lay a run half to go along with that total to the over. 927, 928 on the card. The Cardinals are going to be on the road against the Twins. Joe Ryan goes for the Twins. Kyle Leahy is on the bump for the Cardinals, and the Cardinals are a mid-tier underdog here. You're going to be getting them between plus 118 to a plus 122. Meanwhile, between minus 136 to minus 140, then around Minnesota. 8.5 is the total. Over and under anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115, and I'm willing to lay up to a minus 140 on the Twins money line. Certainly do not want the run line, because for the Minnesota Twins, this is a bullpen that's all sorts of awful right now. Cody Funderburk has been able to give you a sub-4 ERA, but you've got Cody Lawyerson. He's been posting up an ERA well above a 5. Anthony Banda continues to have over a 4.50 ERA. Taylor Rogers has not been himself thus far this season. Eric Gorze has been regressing, so that's an issue, and Joe Ryan has had to really be the bright spot of this entire pitching staff in general. I like what I've seen out of Joe Ryan thus far this season. 3.07 ERA, 2.92 field dependent, 0.8 home runs, 1.9 walks per 9 innings, with darn near 10 strikeouts per 9 innings, and Kyle Lee's actually done an okay job moving from being a bullpen piece a season ago for the Cardinals to being a starter. 1.2 home runs, 3.7 walks per 9 innings, 4.42 ERA, backed up by closer to about a 4.90 fielding dependent, so have to have a little bit of concern there. But for the Cardinals, they've been able to do a better job with their bullpen here recently. They had to figure things out with Leahy being out of it, but for the Cardinals, they're actually 4th in terms of bullpen ERA ever since May 1st. You've had likes of Jojo Romero, Goran Gasefo, George Soriano be able to give you a sub 350 ERA. I don't know if it's going to be a mainstay for a guy like a Soriano, but you do like what you're seeing there. And then for the Cardinals, they've actually been a bottom 8 lineup in terms of run creation ever since May 1st. We'll say this, they're averaging closer to about 4.75 runs per game away from home, closer to about 4.2-ish runs per game at home, and now you're getting back Lars Nootbaar. Got a lot of guys on this lineup between about a 340 to a 360 on base. Jordan Walker has been your main boom guy. He's been able to give you over 15 home runs this season. He, J.J. Weatherholt, Alec Burleson, Lars Nootbaar. Heck, you could throw in there the young guy in Brian Torres, who's seen a few at-bats. They're all between about a 340 to a 360 on base. Ivan Herrera, he's up to about a 400 on base. And then for the Cardinals, you need a little bit more on some of these guys like Victor Scott, Nolan Gorman at the bottom lineup, but they've been able to do a solid job. And then on the other side of things, you've got a Twins team that has been in the upper half of the big leagues in terms of run creation. Byron Buxton, 18 plus home runs this season. He has really had to be the offense from time to time because you do have a few hit or miss guys. Royce Lewis was able to have a home run in that series against the Tigers, and he looked much better at the minor league level, but it's been pretty miserable thus far this season. Lucas Shaw is starting to move the line a little bit as you've got a lot of guys hitting between, I would say, about a 235 to a 245. He, Brooks Lee, Cody Clemens, all sort of in that neighborhood. Alec Martin as well, but Martinez give you about a 350 on base, but you need more out of these guys like a Victor Carantini and company. Trevor Larnach show about a 365 on base, and then Josh Bell, I think he's going to find it a little bit more, but 285 on base with a single-digit amount of homers. I think that you're in for a lower scoring game here. Semi-total at 7.8, and I trust in Joe Ryan. I'm willing to lay up to a minus 140 on that money line. 929, 930 is how we wrap it up. Rockies are going to be on the road against the Athletics out in lovely Las Vegas as Gage Jump hopes to give the Athletics a jump here, and it's all to be determined for the Rockies. Should be a wholesale approach here for the Rockies. They do find themselves as a pretty sizable underdog, anywhere between plus 150 to a plus 160. Meanwhile, minus 170 to minus 184. That number on the Athletics, 13.5 is a total. Over and under both at minus 110. If you're looking to lay a run half with the Athletics, anywhere between even money to plus 105 is what you're finding there, and I was willing to go up to a minus 114. So I'm in on the Athletics on the run line for Gage Jump. 3 starts thus far. Not a guy that has like supreme swing and miss stuff or anything like that, but I've liked what I've seen out of him. For Gage Jump, he was able to go into Wrigley Field. He had a nice start there, 2.45 ERA, 2.83 fielding dependent, as he had to give up a home run in 18 and a third innings. And keep in mind, the affiliate for the Athletics with their minor leagues is Las Vegas, so he's actually used to pitching in this ballpark. I think that that's actually going to matter in this sort of spot. For the Rockies, it looks like they're going to just throw a bunch of guys. I would think that Zach Agnos is probably going to be figuring quite a bit into this. They've given him a start or two. They haven't thrown him in about 5 or so days, so you have to think that he's going to be seeing some innings, and he's got a 7.65 ERA, 5.66 fielding dependent, but I mean, he's only getting about 6.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. The Athletics as a whole, they should be able to jump aboard a Colorado Rockies team that's in the bottom 5 in terms of just total ERA. Now, the team ERA is a full point lower when they're away from Coors Field, but again, now you're in a ballpark that is pretty much just like Coors Field with regards to the way that it elevates offense, and for the Athletics, they've certainly been able to round into form with regards to their offense. Nick Kurtz is giving you a double-figure amount of homers, and he is well above a 400 on base. Shea Langoliers, well, Shea just continues to bang. This man has given you about a 350 on base, 17 home runs. Additionally, you've been able to get quite a bit more recently out of Tyler Soderstrom, up to a 335 on base, 11 home runs out of him. Brent Rooker not hitting for average, but he's been able to give you 8 home runs. Zach Gelof, since coming off the injury list, 8 home runs in less than 175 at-bats, hitting about a 265, and you're going to have Carlos Cortez hit above a 300 as well. Now for the Athletics, bottom half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA, but honestly, it's been much better than it has been in the past. Now, I just don't trust in Mark Leiter Jr. whatsoever, and you do have some of these guys like a Hogan Harris, Luis Medina, even some like a Justin Sterner. These have been guys that have been able to give you a sub 325 ERA. Scott Barlow, he had seen his ERA go above a 4, and they did get rid of Joe Kuhnel. They traded him to the Brewers, but overall, it's much more than what you've got for the Rockies, who have seen Antonio Sensatella actually be really good out of the bullpen this season. I feel like that's one of the biggest upsets of the season after he was such a bad starter, but instead, Seth Alverson, he gives you about a sub 325 ERA, but past that, you've got a lot of mix and match, and you've got a lot of rough with this team, especially with Jimmy Herget along with Victor Vodnik currently on the injured list. Jay Nill has seen his ERA go up to about a 5. Brandon Bernardino more along about a 4.25, and Blaise Castano has been a nice long guy. He's been 18 and third innings in his 8 appearances, sub 4 ERA, so you could be looking at him a little bit more. And for the Rockies, this is a lineup that has been in the bottom 7 in the big leagues in terms of run creation away from home, and with Mickey Moniak on the injured list, you're left with only one guy that has given you over 8 home runs this season, Hunter Goodman, who's been a good man. He's been able to give you 18 home runs this season, but you need more out of some of these mix and match guys. Edouard Julien, Brenton Doyle, Ezekiel Tovar, Kyle Karros, a lot of guys hitting below a 230 for this team whenever they've tried out there. Jordan Beck, Sterling Thompson out there in the outfield, they're hitting below a 230 as well. So do think they get a lower scoring game, like the under. So my total at 12.2, and for the Athletics, want to lay up to a -114 on that run line. That'll wrap things up for the Friday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Big thanks to our guy Tanner Kern over at DraftKings and the Ride the Line Podcast for joining me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one or two ways to be able to fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters they mean does not matter, so per usual, please do send these into the timeline. Other ways, find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast. Buy that 5-star review. Coming at you guys every single day with picks and analysis on every game, every day. So I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.